Joining us now is Jeff Carlson of the Jeff Carlson Band. They have a great cover of the Foreigner song Jukebox Hero, which you can find out more about at jeffcarlsonband.com. Welcome to the show, Jeff. Thanks for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you. Thanks, Christian. I appreciate being here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. Now, tell us a little bit about how the band got together. You guys have been together for a few years, and the band got together in Vegas. Is that where you guys all
Oh
live, or?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live here. Basically, I moved here from out in the Midwest. I lived in Springfield, Missouri originally. That's where I'm from. And I moved to Reno in 95, and then I moved to Vegas in 97. And when I got to Vegas, I basically met Corey, my bass player, and our original drummer, Kyle Kelly. He was with us for a little bit, but and then I met Robbie right directly after that, my lead guitar player. And
Right.
I moved. We had different carnations of different band names. I mean, we started off as Angel Park, and we changed it to Liquid Sky with an E. And then in '07, fast forward to '07, I moved to Tucson with my wife and daughter, and I moved back here in 18, and basically, they were free, so I reformed a new band. And at the time I'd gotten a small distribution deal with Mike Bailey, the drummer for Brett Michaels'
Sure.
solo band.
Yeah.
He had a label called Atomic Records, and he signed me to just like a release a single, whatever. And then he folded it, and in last December I signed on with RFL Records, and it's been great, man. We're real fortunate.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because you always get that help from having a label, and obviously I want to talk to you more about the band and about the song. But the fact that you're living in Vegas, I just figured let's take a minute and how's Vegas doing? I live in LA, so I usually get out there every few months. Now I haven't been there since December, and to be honest, I don't think I'll get there this year. Would love to go next year. I don't. I'm not. It's because I'm not going anywhere. you know
Yeah, I know.
but how's it going? I know some things are open, and I know there's like weird rules where like a club like Vamped could be open but nobody can play music, or I don't even know. So what's the lay of the land there right now as we talk
Well,
today,
as far
early
as far as
September?
I know, Vamped is closed indefinitely right now, and I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know what because they were open for a while,
Yeah.
but they stopped having live music. I think they were only open from like Thursday to Saturday,
Oh, okay.
and then they stopped their smoking policy altogether. Not that I smoke, but they used to be able to go out in the patio and smoke out there,
Sure.
but they stopped that. And then I don't know I don't know if it's like a regulation to where the COVID cases have to go down to like we'll say 3% before they
Right.
can
Sure.
reopen. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what the actual protocol regulations are, but yeah, it's pretty dead as far as that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for the majority of tourists and such who come into Vegas, they think of the casinos, and in addition to the going into the casinos to gamble, there's obviously always, for my wife and I, we're always excited to go to some of the great restaurants there, on and off the strip. My
Yeah,
my dad had a timeshare that we would borrow it was like
awesome.
off past like the Orleans, so it was
Oh
like
yeah, I
not.
used to work
Yeah.
there.
Right. So exactly. So it's like over there, and you kind of got to see the neighborhoods, and you kind of
Yeah.
you just go to Target, just simple things. You
Uh,
kind of get the feel for what it's like for people who actually live there. Whereas
right,
when you're on the strip, you don't get that at all.
right.
So obviously it's nowhere near where it should be. But do you feel like enough things are doing well enough that whether it be, oh, they're doing takeout, they're doing, partial, whatever percentage of capacity. Do you think things are well enough that that they can hang on for a little bit, or is it not great there in Vegas?
Honestly, I have not ventured out on the strip because I don't know if you know this, but when the locals, when you live here,
Yeah.
unless there's something major going on, or a
Right.
concert you want to see or something, I mean, it kind of loses its luster, kind of thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. So I honestly have not been on the strip since this has started,
Yeah.
and I just know that the only place that we played was Counts Vamped, and we played the House of Blues in Mandalay Bay.
Sure.
Now, I don't think that room's open yet either.
Yeah.
So, I, yeah,
Yeah, no, it's tough because bands in general aren't touring. So if you're going to
Right.
have performance, it's going to be bands that are local. So, I feel
Yeah.
like the first time, you know, venues there in Vegas are looking to have people would be bands like yourself that are already based
Oh
there,
yeah.
because so yeah, and I mean, here in LA, it's like we don't even have movie theaters open, and
Yeah.
it's funny when you think about the fact that this is where all those movie studios are, but we don't have
I
movie
know.
theaters open,
I know. It's
so
crazy, man. I
and
know.
look, you go ahead.
Wait, oh, I was just gonna say we played the whiskey last year 3 times, and I mean it was a lot of fun, but I don't think they're doing anything right now either, are they?
No, they're definitely not, because they would have to be open for food. And look, I love the curly fries and chicken fingers there, but I don't know that that's really where their business model lies.
It's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
So
rather go to the Rainbow and have pizza.
right, exactly. Now the rainbow is open for takeout
Oh,
actually,
are
and
they? Oh,
I
that's
think you can
cool.
eat. I think you can eat on the patio there, which
Oh, right on.
yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
but the whiskey doesn't have that. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
So
right.
yeah, so I think it's, you're I don't know, you're in like this holding pattern for the most part. You start to see little things, you're like, okay, this is a little bit better. You feel a little bit
Right.
better about these things, but
Yeah,
we're still a long ways off. And that
yeah.
was why I figured I would ask that, because the best part of being in Vegas was usually, when you could get off of the strip,
Right, right. Yeah.
and I've got like two little kids, so we would like take them to the children's museum and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I would go to the minor league baseball park. So I'd like to do
Yeah.
things that were like not,
Yeah.
also, how much gambling can you do unless you're a high roller, So
Exactly. I don't have money to burn, man. The most I'll lose is $20. That's it.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, my wife and I would be on vacation. We would set like, okay, so when $100 is gone, I guess we're gonna go get ice cream,
Right,
So,
right. Exactly. That's
which
smart. See?
yeah, exactly. But that's probably not the kind of tourists they're looking to attract. Well, hopefully things are better there. I mean, obviously the greatest thing that's happened sort of for people like myself to visit Vegas are there's just so many more of these residencies now. Like I didn't
Hmm.
make it to the Aerosmith one last year. I was hoping to
Yeah,
go
I
this year,
know.
but
I wanted to too.
obviously that's not going to happen. I know the Scorpions were going to have a residency at Planet
Yep.
Hollywood. And so I
Def
think that
Leppard. There's
yeah. Oh,
another
yeah.
one.
Def Leppard. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I was. I went to the one Kiss did a few years ago. I think that was like 5 years
Uh-huh.
ago.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's cool when you have those, because especially for people like me who could drive there,
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah,
Exactly.
this is like what to plan around. So I
Sure.
think when you start to get venues open, that'd be great. But I unfortunately I think it's a ways off. But
Yeah.
so how are you and the band keeping busy during these times when you can't even play like a smaller room like Vamped? What are you guys doing?
Well, we're writing for a new record right now, and I'll tell you, man, in some ways, it's been kind of a blessing. I mean, yeah, obviously we miss playing, but if you're not going to play, I want to make the best use of our time where we rehearse and we're actually writing. Robbie and I just wrote 2 new songs last night, man, in one night. So, I mean, it's just the creative juices go, man. And when they start flowing, you got to take advantage of it, and really buckle down and use that time to create. That's where
Sure.
we're at with that.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of us expect 2021 will be one of those years where yes, you're going to have a lot of bands out on the road who haven't been, but there are albums that were supposed to come out this year that
Yeah,
they're just waiting, all that sort of stuff.
yeah,
So there's going to be so much new music, which I think will be great to kind of have it out at a time when then you can go
sure.
and see those bands.
Hmm.
So talk a little bit about the rest of the band. It's funny because when I was looking at your website, I definitely read it too fast, and I was like, his drummer's Todd Rundgren, and then I'm like, no, you idiot, it says Todd Turgeon. But when you read it fast, it kind of looks like that. But talk about the rest of the guys in the band.
You bet. Well, like I say, Robbie and Corey. Robbie's my lead guitar player. He started out. Are you a LA native?
I mean, I've lived here for almost 20 years. I'm from New York originally.
Oh, okay. Well, the reason I ask is Robbie started off. He's an LA native. He had a band in the '80s called Holy Soldier, and he was the original singer for that band. His name at that time was Robbie Bronze, and then he changed it to Robbie Wolf. It's a family thing, but whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, he later became a lead guitar player because he always wanted to be a lead guitar player, not a lead singer. So when I met him in 98 and Corey, we just clicked. The minute I knew that Robbie was the guy, I mean, it was like a lightning bolt, man. I mean, we played acoustically. We just sat down and I just wanted to see what kind of a gelling, chemistry he could have with me vocally. And we started playing Do You Love Me from Kiss, and he locked into that harmony. And I'm like, that's the guy. That's the guy right there. So we've been playing off and on together for, since 98. So after I moved to Tucson, it kind of put a damper on things because obviously it's tough to, in different cities, unless you're, a major band, those guys can fly in and out or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, when you're starting to get going, you all have to really kind of live in this. It's a lot better if you live in the same city, obviously, and Corey, he's from Orange County originally, my bass player. And he's been in a ton of bands, and we just have a long family history together as far as the three of us, from that time on. We've been, except for Corey, we've been through divorces, we've been, all kinds of shit. Right. So, but yeah, man. And Todd, what happened is we started off with our first single was Never Be Another You. And I needed a drummer last minute because the guy I had canceled on me, couldn't do it. So, which ironically was our first drummer, Kyle Kelly. he lives in Columbus, Ohio, but he was going to fly out to Vegas to record it with us. Well, he didn't do it for whatever reason, and I called Todd last minute, like literally 2 days before we recorded it, and I was still in Tucson at the time because I knew I was getting ready to move to Vegas.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, bro, can you help me out and just So he came in like a champion, dude, and he just kicked ass. So originally we were going to use Todd, but for some reason, I don't know if the wires got crossed or what, but we thought he was doing something else and wasn't available for some reason. I don't know. But Corey at the time had another band called Tailgun, and they had broken up. And their drummer was Mike Mittling, the drummer we used from that point forward. After so long, we recorded, our third single was Screaming Inside. So we brought Mike in and we started playing shows. May 17th of 19, our first show was with Lita Ford at the Whiskey. And then we came back and played the night after here at Counts Vamped with Phil X in the Drills. So, I mean, we were lucky. We got, granted the Whiskey shows, you have to pay to play to get on those. But the Vamp, that was a lot of fun, man. We drew a pretty good crowd. So that helped, that helped locally, So, we just got, everything was going great. And then for some reason in June, Mike, I don't know if he got stir crazy with the epidemic or what, but and there's nothing negative I'm saying about it or anything. Everybody's got their own reasons for what they do. But for some reason, his heart wasn't in it and he decided to leave. And I called Todd back again, and as luck would have it, thank God he came back, and now we're a band, now everybody's on the same page. So it's all good, man. We're very happy.
Yeah, it's funny because I was when I was poking around the website, I saw that you guys did play at the Whiskey with Lita Ford, and I'm like, well, how did I miss that show? I should have seen this band. I don't know what I was doing that night, but I did also read some of the other bands that you guys have played with, and I saw that Tesla was on there. Yeah. And I talked to Frank Hannon a few weeks ago. He's great. He's quite a character, and also phenomenal musician that I've admired for 30 plus years.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and so he ends up playing guitar on the single that you have coming, or it's already out, Jukebox Hero, cover of the Foreigner song. So talk a little bit about how Frank became involved in Jukebox Hero.
Well, Frank and I have known each other since 2010. And what happened is Tesla was on tour with the Scorpions back then. They'd come to Tucson, but the night before, Frank had put together a new solo band. I think he put out Six String Soldiers at that time. And they were playing in Tucson. And ironically, I had a drummer in Tucson, and I had Corey and Robbie drive all the way from Vegas to help me do this show with them. So I opened for Frank in Tucson at a place called The Rock. And at the end of the night, I got up and sang Modern Day Cowboy with him. And ever since that night, man, him and I, we could literally not talk to each other for a year and pick right up where we left off, So, I mean, we've done, so last year, fast forward to last year, which I got to get real quick. I got to give a shout out to my brother Brad Coletti. Him and I back in Tucson had a band called Scare Card, and we played with Tesla at the Ava Amphitheater. That was really cool. But anyway, I went up. Frank called me and he said, "Hey man, I've got this private party booked, and they want a whole set of Tesla. You want to sing a whole set of Tesla with me?" And I'm like, "Let me think about it." Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
so so I flew up to Sacramento, and it was so much fun, bro. We had just a blast. And I mean, if I could have told my 16-year-old self I'd be doing that, 30, 40
Yeah.
years later, or 30 years later, it'd been like my head would have exploded. But anyway, it was so much fun. So I said to him at the end of the gig, I'm like, "Hey, bro, I'm going to be doing a new cover of a remake of Jukebox Hero. Would you mind laying down the lead on it for me?" And he's like, "Sure, just send me the tracks. I'll just knock it out." So that's kind of where we're at with that, So
Right. And obviously, people know the song, and I think you guys did a great version of it. What was the decision on why do you decide that that's the song if you're going to do a cover or remake of a song? What was it about Jukebox Hero that you feel like this is the song to do right now?
well, honestly, the story behind that is when I was a kid. Gosh, I would have been like 9 when that came out in 1980, I think it was. My dad used to play that. He bought four, and he'd play it. Back then, we had cassette tapes and vinyl, but he always said that song reminded him of me. And when he passed this year in the end of January, I did it as a tribute to him.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously that has to be great to, have that association
Yeah,
with your dad and to be able to do it. And then, for people that don't even know the backstory, like, oh, this is a really cool version of this song. And as
right.
I mentioned earlier, jeffcarlsonband.com, that's where you can find that. And, obviously everything. So I did, as I mentioned to you before, I poked around on the website and I looked at some of the other stuff, including there were some videos on there. And I really liked the song you had called So Long. I wanted to talk about the video for
Thanks.
that. So did you just go out to the desert and there was a crashed airplane? Is it that simple? Because I was just like, I mean, there's no way that's fake.
Yeah,
why would you have the crashed airplane unless it was there? So I was
yeah.
kind of wondering about that.
Well, at the time, we had a producer named Brett Hansen. He was a good friend of mine. He was dynamite in helping us create, shoot the video and everything. So there's a place between Vegas and Laughlin on that road, and it's called Nelson, Nevada, and that's their big claim to fame. They have it's like a little tourist thing. So we rented out that area from like God, we shot that video in July of last year. No, July of 18 actually is when it was. And this was before Corey couldn't even make the video because he had to work that day for some reason or whatever. And I wasn't moved out. I just moved here because I moved here in June of 18. So July came and we went out at like 8 in the morning and found this place. And yeah, we just filmed it. And by noon, man, I think I was getting ready to die of heat exhaustion. It was like triple digits.
Yeah, as soon as you said July, I was like, oh yeah, it looked hot.
Yeah, it
Just
was brutal. Yeah,
but that's just such a cool thing. Sometimes, there's just something
yeah,
out there and you're like, oh yeah, because, it would have looked cool even if you just filmed it out in the desert, but it's like, no, let's go to where the airplane is. So
right, right,
I thought that
right.
was pretty cool. And,
Yeah,
there's a few songs that people are able to, download. If they go to jeffcarlson.com, they can find it. Obviously the
yeah,
primary focus is Jukebox Hero. So you were talking about working on new material, and the idea would be for a full album or just some more songs
yeah.
or
No, we're gonna do a full length record this time, and that's another thing I was getting into as far as writing and spending our time wisely is we're actually able to rip. We've got a couple of old songs or several, 3 or 4 old songs that we used to play that we basically ripped them apart and rewrote them and made them updated for today's world, basically, with production and just different, making the songs actually go somewhere by doing the detail work. You have to do a lot of detail work for me anyway, to really feel proud of what because at the end of the day, I don't want to go back and go, well, I should have done this or you know what I mean? So I want these songs to be exactly the best they could possibly be and be completely final with them. Because when we originally wrote them, a lot of times back then we were playing around town a lot, and nothing really, it was like they were 75% done, but they weren't 100% done. You know what I mean? So we had to rethink all this, and we're trying to, they had to, I think we had a lot of great ideas, but like if we were to say hire a Mutt Lange or, or whoever, that's what they do is they would come in and literally rip apart your songs to make them go somewhere as far as being dynamics and, and really making them the best they could possibly be. So that's kind of what we've been doing, and also writing new stuff too. So yeah.
Right. So for those there's going to be an audio only version of this interview as part of the show, but then also for people watching the video on YouTube, they're going to have noticed the whole time that you've been on that there's a lot of Elvis paintings and stuff behind you. So
Yeah.
I wanted to take a moment, one, to ask you about clearly the impact that Elvis had on your life, and give you a chance to flip the camera around and show off some of that, some of the cool looking stuff you have there.
Thank you. Elvis Presley, to me, without him, obviously, I don't think any of us would be here right now. I unfortunately, I was only 6 when he passed, but the magic that man had as far as being able to connect to a crowd, and his dynamics on stage, everything about him, he had everything. He had just everything, man. I mean, there wasn't anything he couldn't do. And he, talk about, it was just somebody who was gifted, and it's just very inspiring. And it's always been very inspiring to me, let's see here. I'm kind of new to this. I'm not sure. Let's see. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, well, I see some young Elvis. I see some, so there's a sheet of paper. I see some, you got some jumpsuit Elvis as well, and I saw the license plate.
Yeah. Well, I used to live in Memphis when I was a kid, and that's from Rock 103 out of Memphis.
Okay.
But no, that sheet of paper was given to me by a friend who I used to know, Elvis's bodyguard, Dick Robe, who lived here in Las Vegas, and he passed recently, unfortunately. Great guy. But my buddy gave him, and that was an authentic lyric sheet from a song he did in 1976 and 77 called Let Me Be There by Olivia Newton-John. And he signed it with a ballpoint pen. So that's like my, holy grail of Elvis stuff.
Yeah.
But
I mean, obviously that's such a great thing to have, and there's so much stuff. And obviously, I've always appreciated Elvis for really, everything. And it's interesting because you check in at different points in his career, like, the 68 comeback special is also amazing, and it's like, even when you see the later stuff, you're like, yeah, but listen to him sing, you know what I mean? And it's, so I, of course, when I was in Memphis, of course I made the time to go to Graceland, and it's just like such a cool thing to see. Cause like, it's the guy's house.
Right.
But, I love that sort of, getting to see that. And so you've got like a little mini Graceland there in your room.
I try. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let's see here. You guys see that lamp?
Yeah.
That lamp, actually, my wife and I got that at a place here in Las Vegas, and it's modeled after, if you go downstairs at Graceland, the TV room, across from the TV room, there's the billiards room where he's got that pool table and all that.
Sure.
There's a lamp. Obviously his is nicer, but but there's a lamp very similar to that. And, and I'm like, So
that's very cool.
If I could, I would remake my house exactly like Graceland.
When I was there, I was just like, man, I want a jungle room.
I know,
like, how
right?
cool would it be to have a jungle room?
My wife won't let me, but
yeah.
When he was alive, it was actually, and it looks kind of gaudy now but everything was red. The carpet was red. Everything. And once he passed and Priscilla took over, she gutted it and made it like when she lived there in the early 60s,
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. I didn't really even think about that. I just kind of figured that, after he passed away, they just kind of left it. But I guess that makes sense to do it that way.
Yeah.
Well, not that long ago, and for some people it'll be the same episode. I talked to a couple of other musicians who started out in Vegas, Mark Slaughter and this guy Joshua Seth Egan, and they talked about a project they were doing together. They work with the same publicist as you. That's how
Oh, Jody, yeah.
yeah, of course.
Right
And
on.
they talked about growing up in Vegas, and it was just sort of like the idea of like going to see a live music was just like, well, yeah, of course, but you would go see everything, I mean, they talked
Right.
about even seeing like, Tony Orlando, just sort of like
Right.
whatever. But
Red
what,
Fox.
yeah. So you talked about when you were a kid, you were in Memphis, but you did spend a lot of time, growing up in Vegas, it sounded like. So
No,
what,
actually, well, actually, what happened is I originally was born in Illinois, moved to Mississippi, or I'm sorry, Missouri when I was a
right.
kid, and my dad had gotten custody of me, and he'd gotten remarried, so we moved to North Carolina, Jacksonville, out there at Cherry Point, and then because he was in the Marines, and then we moved to Millington, where there's a naval base there in Millington, where they transferred her. I think there's a Marine spot there, whatever. But
Sure.
we lived there for a few years, and then I grew up. I went back to Missouri and grew
Oh,
up
I see.
until yeah. And by the time I think I was like, God, what it would have been? I was like 24 at that time. I moved to Reno, and then, all over a chick, you
Yeah.
know.
So, but what's some of the earliest live music you saw? Obviously, hearing music is really important, but actually going to see it,
Well,
whether it's the first show you ever went to or not, what are some that you remember like, oh, this really made a big impact on me?
when I was 4 years old, my mom took me to see Kiss on the Alive tour, La Crosse,
Nice.
Wisconsin, and then she took me to see Black Oak, Arkansas, and I met Jim Dandy Mangrum, the singer.
Sure.
And at that time, he was awesome. He was it back then. He was like David Lee Roth before David Lee Roth.
Right.
And he was so cool to me, man. He just made this really huge impact. I mean, I was just like my mouth open and flipped out. I was like, that's what I want to be. So ever since then, music's been in my blood. And it's not you just either have it or you don't. There's no in between. You know what I mean? I'm just fortunate now. In 2001, I've got sick with Crohn's disease, and I actually died for almost 3 minutes on the operating table.
Wow.
So because of that, I've had 7 surgeries, but I'm okay now. Thank God. They had to take all but 6 inches of my large intestine out, unfortunately. And it just, I'm better now, but I'm not. I'll never be normal, quote unquote.
Sure. Sure.
So unfortunately, I've had to. I'm on disability because I can't work a day job because of my issues with that. But it hasn't stopped me from pursuing music, and I owe all of that to my wife, who's able to help me not only financially but mentally and stably. She's very stable to help me keep grounded and be the best I can be. And she's just done nothing but support me. Which, man, I'll tell you, if you're blessed enough to have, a partner who can love you and support you and not stand in your way of your dreams, man, that's half the battle right there. Without her,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
Basically.
no, I mean, I can concur to that. My wife is a television writer, so she
Oh,
does
that's
okay,
awesome.
and then
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
able to, I do the things I do, and it's I said to her years ago, I can't wait till you make more money than me. That's going to be the greatest for us. So.
yeah.
But Jeff, it's been great getting to know you, great chatting, and
Thank you,
I look
brother.
forward to there being a time when the Jeff Carlson band is back at the whiskey, and then
Yeah,
I'll
me
be like,
too.
"Hey, remember I had you show off all
Yeah,
your, I should show off your
yeah,
Elvis lamp."
yeah,
Uh,
man.
and people can, as I said before, people can find Jukebox Hero and other music from the Jeff Carlson band at jeffcarlsonband.com. Keeping it nice and simple. Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time
Thank you,
to chat today.
Christian.
I really
You
appreciate it.
bet, brother. Thank you very much. Take care.
You too.
Okay. Bye bye.